All right, GamerforGod coming out here with my first attempt at a movie review. So I took my family to see the new movie from Pixar Studios, Hoppers. Just came out over this past weekend. And as I talk about this, there's definitely going to be some spoiler stuff in here a little bit, but it's not really a movie you're gonna have to worry about getting too many spoilers in anyway. It's not really that kind of a movie with big twists and turns and things of that nature, but there will be some spoiler discussion here. So Hoppers is about a young lady named Mabel, and from her young age, her and her grandmother spent a lot of time outside of her grandmother's house, a little pond that they have out there with lots of kind of wildlife, beavers living in it, ducks, just nature doing what nature does in a pond. And kind of the plot of the movie revolves around the mayor of the town wanting to build a new highway through the pond, and Mabel trying to stop him from doing that. And Mabel discovers at her college some professors that have some technology that allows people to transfer their consciousness into a lifelike robot animal. A beaver is the one that they use for most of the movie. They also have a bird and some other things like that. And then we just kind of see what happens as Mabel tries to as Mabel transfers her consciousness to the robot beaver body, and tries to convince the animals to come back to the pond and live there again and all that. So anyhow, it's a little bit of a synopsis of what it's all about. So let's talk about some positive things here first. First, we've got, of course, it's from Pixar, so the animation is, as always, excellent. And I do salute the movie for willing to be crazy, right? The plot here really just gets absolutely bonkers, and I appreciate that in a film. I like it when a film is not afraid to just be absolutely insane. All right, I appreciate that in a film, and Hoppers does do that here. But that is about where the praise from me is going to end. The message of this film, Mabel is clearly an environmental activist, and for me, there wasn't enough. The film wasn't entertaining enough to overcome a message that I wasn't just a huge fan of to begin with, right? And as a Christian, I'm not here saying that we should not take care of the environment. We should just waste it and set it on fire and do terrible things to it. But also, the problem with the environmental movement is it treats the earth as though the earth has to last forever, that the earth is all there is. God is kind of completely removed from that equation. And so God put Adam and Eve in the garden to be good stewards of the garden, to tend and keep it, right? And so while we should be a good steward of what God gave us here on the earth, at the same time, I don't have to, be afraid that, if something goes bad on the planet here, it's all over. Right? We know as Christians that the world is going to come to an end. This world, as we know it, it says the elements are going to melt with a fervent heat, right, when Christ returns. But there will be a new heavens and a new earth, so everything will be restored. So I'm not saying you should, take that and just say, okay, we'll just ruin this place because, God's going to make it all new. But at the same time, I don't have to get worked up in a frenzy about it, right? I know that God is going to restore whatever damage is done and all that. And this movie is it's about environmental activism, right? That's the main plot. This girl's got to save her pond that her and her grandma used to spend all that time at. And it's from the evil mayor who wants to build a highway through it. And there wasn't enough entertainment otherwise for me to enjoy this film, right? And I can have disagreements with the film, but still agree that it was a well-made film, right? Like, let's take another Pixar film, for instance, like Coco. I think Coco is an excellent film, very well-made, very entertaining, very humorous, and has lots of good messages about family. Though, of course, Coco revolves around Dia de los Muertos, right? The Day of the Dead. Obviously, as a Christian, I don't, agree with that celebration. I don't think that's spiritually what the Bible tells us is going to happen to us when we die. But I can still, even though I have spiritual disagreements with that film, I can still say that it was a well-made film. It's very entertaining, and as if you're a mature believer, you can say, okay, well, I know these things not to be true, and I have to go into this film knowing that, okay, hey, I disagree with this, and I know this is not true, but hey, this is still a well-made film. It was still entertaining, and there was still even a lot of good message in the film. Hoppers is no Coco, okay, right? And all the reviewers right now are, oh, this is the best movie of all time. And at this point, anytime critics are just raving about a movie at this point, that's an immediate red flag for me that this is probably not going to be a movie that normal people actually like, right? And that's the problem with a lot of these newer movies that come out that want to be about political messaging, right? Is that all they've done is make a political message and failed to actually make a movie along with it that was entertaining or fun or had any redeeming value, to it almost at all. And look, and Christians can do this too. We make Christian films and we have a good message, but then maybe it's not, the acting wasn't great, or the, story was very basic, or, things of that nature. And Christian films have come a long way in that regard. I really appreciate the work that Angel Studios does to make quality films. I always appreciate the message of Christian films because they're claiming the truth of the Bible. But sometimes we have the great message, right? We have the truth, but we have not made a quality production out of it. And this is what Hoppers has done, right? They have made a movie about a message, but they have not made a good movie around it. A few months from now, I don't think hardly anybody's going to be talking about this film. I think it's going to just be another in the slew of unfortunately disappointing recent Pixar films that was all political, but unfortunately they did not construct a good movie around it. I laughed out loud hardly at all during this movie, and I'm literally the easiest person in the world to make laugh at a movie. So if you can't win me there, you're you're doing something wrong. So it just was not very entertaining. And so if that message is not appealing to you, this movie probably isn't going to be very appealing to you. Maybe you'll be a little less harsh on it than me. But at the end of the day, again, I just felt, if this message isn't for you, then this movie has little else to offer. I did like the story element between Mabel and her grandmother. And that was nice, but there was much less of that and much more of, we have to save the environment, and so again, if that doesn't get you all excited, this film probably wasn't going to get you all excited. And that's the problem with these political films. Once you take this stance and say, okay, I feel like the only reason this film exists is because somebody said, I want to make a movie about environmentalism. And I think that's not really the greatest reason for a movie to exist. A movie should exist because you say, hey, I have a good story, And I think a lot of other people are going to appreciate this story and be moved by it. They're going to be entertained by it. They're going to laugh at it. They're going to be pumped up because it's an action film. Like, that's the reason a movie should exist. Not because, hey, I had a political agenda and I wanted to make a movie about it. And when you say, hey, my movie's about a political agenda, you instantly alienate over half of people, right? And so you can't expect a movie just is going to get some great following when you've eliminated over half of your audience because you made it political. You should make a movie because you have a good story that is worth telling, that is going to be meaningful to a lot of people, right? I think that's the goal. A movie should move us in some way, shape, or form. And that should be the goal of the movie. Either to make us laugh, to make us cry, to make us afraid, to make us sad, to do something to us on an emotional level, right? That's the reason the Greeks did theater long ago, is for catharsis, for an emotional release. And movies should still do that. And when you make a movie about a political thing, you're not doing that, and you're missing the whole point of why you should make a movie. So that's Hoppers. Unfortunately, not a strong recommendation from me. You would be much better served watching most anything else that's coming out this weekend. So thank you for checking out the review. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helps you make a more informed decision. If you're thinking about watching Hoppers, I hope this helps you make that decision one way or the other. And hey, if you disagree with me, if you have other thoughts, put them in the comments. Glad to hear with them. Glad to talk with you about them. But thanks for checking out this GamerforGod Does Stuff review of the Pixar film Hoppers. Thanks for tuning in. God bless. Praying for you. And anytime on my videos, if you got a prayer request, you have something you need, you can feel free to post that as well. I'm here to help you spiritually however I can. That's why I'm making these videos, and that's just what I'm here for in general in life. So, yeah, thanks for watching. God bless. Have a blessed night. We'll talk to you later. Bye.